Magandang araw! Welcome to Tambay TV on the Taglish Network on YouTube. I am Pael Fajardo and I will be host of this show. Since this is our pilot episode, our episode 1, so to speak, let me break down what this is and what will all be about. This is our origin story, and we are glad to have you here listening to us. First off, what is the Taglish Network? It is a Tagalog English-speaking channel where the West collides with the Pinoy culture. Dahin kami elitista dito, mas kali pa kami sa inyo. Minsan. Minsan lang. So, next I'll explain what Tambay TV is. Tambay TV is the show where we share and express our love for everything in the realm of movies, TV, and comics. Each episode we will be reporting the current news in the geekosphere. All the shows you guys should be watching, when to watch them. And when we do get to do some reading, we'll recommend some comics for you guys, or the ones we've read or are currently reading. But most importantly, we're here to inspire and entertain you, our dear listeners. Are you not entertained? I'm trying my inner Maximus there. And also, every episode we will try to have a special guest with us. And as it happens, we have a very, very special one for you guys on our pilot episode. Before I introduce the special guest, I'll start with a statement and a story. We are all huge Star Wars fans, right? I mean, especially now that everything is back in full circle. The best part of Star Wars is that you believe in that universe. You believe in the Force. You believe it so much that you are in that universe. It's a fan's ultimate pipe dream to be in that world, to be in those movies. As a Filipino fan, it's a far cry and more than a stone throw's wish to actually be in those movies. Our first guest in episode 1 of Tambay TV is a Filipino who actually starred in episode 2 of the Star Wars saga at the Attack of the Clones. Yes, may Pinoy doon, just in case di nyo alam. And this is that funny story. Well, before that, I'll tell a little funny story. So recently, thank you to PLG, Philippine Lightsaber Guild, on Facebook. I've met so many fellow fans, and I've been dealing is such a bad word, selling these like dueling blades locally. And so I've been getting this barrage of orders, and people have been texting me, asking me about blade sizes and all that, and how to measure. So I've learned like a couple of, plus I've always known a little about swords and how to measure blades. Anyway, so there's one dude inquires and says, how much, and asks about it, and he tells me something like, okay, I'll take my measurements and let you know by tonight. And me being helpful, I'm just sharing my story, telling, okay, so this is how you measure your blade from your hilt to your first toe, blah, blah, blah. And I will never forget, much to my regret and, that moment of feeling small in your life. He says to me, dude, I was in episode 2. I think I know a little about lightsabers. With what was genuinely a smiling face to the message. It was kind of genuine at the time. So I'm a guy who used to have Star Wars bed sheets, okay? I was a senior high school at the time, not a kid. I was a guy who thought I knew everything I knew about Star Wars. I've read all the books and the games. I could tell you I love Mara Jade and who Grand Admiral Thrawn is. And I know these people, and I knew there were some Pinoy Jedis. What I didn't know, and I'm kicking my ass for not knowing, was that I was being messaged by an actual Jedi. This guy inquiring about my blades is a fucking Jedi. Okay, so without further ado, let me introduce to you, hiding in plain sight, the Jedi Among Us, Jedi Master Elrik Jundis. Welcome to Tambay TV, Senor. How was that open? Was that too long?
Yeah, it was entertaining.
So how are you, my man? How are you? You good?
I'm good. This is, it's cool to be connecting with the fan community, whoever's going to be listening to this.
Yeah, hopefully.
Fellow geeks.
Hands up! Put your hands up! Okay, to those who do not know, a quick background on who you are.
So I'm Elrik Jundis, born and raised in San Francisco, California.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised to be in love with being Filipino.
Really? But did you speak Filipino around the house? That's
No,
the first thing I ask people.
At this point in my life, I speak more Tagalog than any of my aunts and uncles or any of my first
Really?
cousins.
So you're all like, were you second generation in the States or first generation?
I'm second generation, but culturally third. Like I have aunts and uncles.
That distant.
Because on my mom and dad's side, they came to the States right after World War II.
Oh, second generation then. Yeah. Because I have a lot of cousins in the States, but then they're just like first generation. So World War II.
Yeah.
Hardcore. So growing up, what was it like? How many siblings you guys have? Where'd you grow up? How was it growing up there?
Like I said, it's born in San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
How was it growing up? Back then, there weren't a lot of Filipinos. I mean, the large immigration didn't start till 65.
Mm-hmm.
So if you saw someone who looked Filipino, you might go a little bit close and listen. Are they going to speak Visayan? Or are they going to speak Tagalog?
Could you understand though a little bit? Or you just know
I
it
knew
sounds
pancit,
Filipino?
adobo. I mean, really the typical worst of Amboy experience. But
Well, I think that is the Filipino experience. Pagkain lahat.
Yeah. So there was this sense of like, if you see another Filipino, they're your,
Buddies.
your kababayan.
Yeah.
And then it was very.
We're instantly friends. Like when you see, but it's like you feel connected in some way.
Yeah. I mean,
Because I noticed that you guys have like your own Filipino cliques in the States.
yeah. I mean, a lot of people know each other,
Especially in San Francisco.
especially in San Francisco. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
anywhere, and I'm gonna see someone I know. Actually,
Or when you're coming back. Or I mean, when you're going there.
actually plan to do a little bit more exploring in this part of the world. So Southeast Asia, down under. But I think maybe 2017 reconnect with folks over there. But who knows?
Uh-huh. When did you come back?
So I moved here in 2007. I came on vacation, and my first trip was in '93. I fell in love with the Philippines. I always
Where did you stay?
That trip I went all over the place. I was very proud of being Filipino, and had immersed myself in Filipino martial arts, teaching it. And '93 was my first trip, and I went all over the Philippines meeting.
How long were you here
the
for?
It wasn't that long. It was about 2 months. And
2
so
months.
it's
That is long. That's good enough.
in
Yeah,
the grand
that's a
scheme
long-
of things.
Yeah.
But it was an opportunity to connect with the last living masters of a whole bunch of different lineages of Filipino martial arts, and I was like, I gotta come back. And
Which Arnis? You took up Arnis and
so Arnis, Dobliti Rapalon, Calicilistrissimo, they like to think of themselves as an Eskrima system.
but
But
that's
that's a
also-
whole different
Isn't
conversation. I don't know if we want to go into Filipino martial arts for
a little
folks.
bit. Just give us like a
So
one paragraph on it.
I had done in the States we call McDojo.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah, yeah.
like, usually a Korean or Japanese style. You're paying for each stripe on your belt.
Exactly.
And you're learning some beautiful form. You're learning some good discipline. But it's very hierarchical. It's like this thing of like, you're not going to be ready to fight for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, but why didn't you take up Kung Fu or like Jeet Kune Do? But that was like the Bruce Lee era of.
But for me, it was
martial arts at
80s. The
time.
Korean stuff. Actually, there's this one school that was on the covers of different magazines, and then I got to train at their headquarters. But then I went to community college. We had an Olympic judo coach teaching the judo program.
Nice.
Had a guy who had
Judo's
produced some champions in amateur boxing. So I got to train under some of the best.
What year was this? This was
This was starting in 1989.
980. So yeah, this is like a post Bruce Lee era. It's like
Yeah.
Jeet is at its high. I know because my dad is a big Kung Fu. My dad is a
Yeah.
Kung Fu master. So ever
Oh,
since
wow.
growing up, we've been taking up martial arts as well. So
Yeah.
I kind of know my way.
This
around
was the
that.
era of ninja movies. So everybody wanted to be a ninja.
Exactly. I think that's
That or Rambo.
I think that's the birth of like the geekdom, because people who watch these amazing tumbling fucking ninja star throwing movies, these are the same people who like started taking up and try to be tough because they're bullied at school. You know what I mean? So it's like the Karate Kid generation, so to speak, right?
I mean, that was my experience. I saw the Karate Kid, and eventually, I was like,
Right.
I want to train in martial arts.
was
Because I was the little Asian kid, little
I was
Filipino
about to ask
kid.
that. Was
I was a latchkey kid. That meant my parents both worked.
Uh-huh.
I used to catch like an hour worth of buses every
Yeah.
day starting when I was 7. This is public transit.
shit, and then
You know.
people will be looking at you like,
Yes,
would
you have
they
to-
mess with you and
Yep.
shit? Fuck.
Interesting
Again,
childhood.
the Karate Kid generation. You know what I mean? It's like, I gotta learn that. I gotta learn this. I gotta protect myself. Diba? Anyway, so
Sure.
getting into the mood. So describe to us your first experience with Star Wars.
Believe it or not, for me, that's 1975.
A
A year before A New Hope came out.
That's 2 years before 77 is New Hope.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. So I see. I thought I knew everything about Star Wars.
Anyway, I'm blanking out on it, but
Yeah,
the
but the,
1977. So maybe
New
it was
Hope.
76, and I'm wrong on the. On
No,
the
yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah.
It's just my
Because
dad.
it was released in the States early. I mean, in small theaters before they really mass distributed it in 77.
They did. I mean, they still do test showings for stuff, but I saw it at the main theater in San Francisco back then, the Coronet. And when you
Nice.
see the line, I mean, I remember as a child passing by, like, can we go see the movie today? And there'd be like 3 blocks of lines.
No way.
And then, like,
So
my,
even
my
before
parents
si-
were like, no, we're not. But at least my parents took the time to, it was like, felt like hours. It was probably only a half-hour drive to go to this theater. And then when we saw the lines, it was like, no. But my dad made
How
sure.
long was the drive?
It was on the other side of San Francisco. Take an hour today, but back
So
then...
you'd spend like an hour in traffic and not get in line?
Because
How
then-
heartbreaking was that?
Yeah. When it finally got online, it was a multi-hour wait when I went to see it for the very first one.
Nice. How was that? How was that? Like, how did that moment in time like change your outlook on stuff and how? What was it? What was it like? Tell us the story.
Movies were always magical, so it was,
Right.
actually for me and my generation, if you heard the old 20th Century Fox, dun 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 dun, exactly right. See, right now you're seeing the hairs on the
Right,
back of my neck
exactly.
going up.
Exactly.
There's this excitement, and you're going like, oh my god.
And then silence, and then you have to wait for it. Hold it in.
It's that it's that music is associated with that amazing feeling of being blown away,
Way. First
having
time
never
in your
seen
life.
anything like that ever before, and that was
Damn, I envy
I had a
that.
hanking for the Star Wars universe pretty bad at that time.
No, because even before getting into the cinema, you've already experienced it with like, wow, that's not normal. Lines 3 blocks long
I'd
is
never
not
seen anything like that
normal,
before.
right? That's
Yeah.
not normal.
It was the first time I saw that
right? And
for a movie.
right? And then just so that pre-hype in your head, and you're like, and I'm sure some people had toys at this time and like were in costume.
This is
at, like,
before the toys. This is before the costumes.
cons.
But somehow
I'm pretty sure there'll be
the
like
geek
one or
community,
two.
the geek. Well,
Wala pa
cosplay
rin.
it's because it was also before the movies came out.
That's true.
Yeah.
How different of a world must that have been? Because my first experience was like I was just like, it was via Betamax, man. You know what I mean? And that blew my freaking mind. I did not get to see Star Wars in the theater until it was re-released in the remade version 92. Was
90?
it 90s?
98 is when they started redoing the digital ones, episode 4, 5, and 6.
Was it 9? Around that year, yeah. Sometime. See, that was my first like in a fucking theater hearing the. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is how it feels, you know. So this is, and then it goes, and even though I've seen these movies like a lot of times,
Yeah.
on the Betamax, seeing it in a theater was like really different.
It is a different emotional experience to see it
Bet.
in the theater, and it's like nowadays we can escape on YouTube, right?
Some people can even like watch the cam rips and shit. You know?
Or cam rip on YouTube, on the MRT. It's a different movie
It's a
experience.
different movie
from,
experience.
No,
No, but
now we
then-
got Atmos.
But
and-
somehow Star Wars draws the people in. Like we saw with Episode 7 recently, how it just draws people out. I've seen crazy, not 3 blocks long, but then crazy cinema lines this last showing. So it was like insane.
Yeah, I think people want to be excited about stuff, and it's like for us geeks, it's been on the underground. We've loved our comics.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I was blown away the other day. I saw, and it was really popular, the Goonies T-shirts. I forgot what, maybe it was Cotton On or something was selling.
Seriously?
Goonies. Remember that movie from the 80s?
Of course. I remember even the Family Com game.
And that was the first movie I cut school to see. I went to see
How
that
old
in
were you?
Theaters. I was probably 11 or 12. I saw it at least 2-3 times in the theater.
The Goonies.
And I didn't know anyone liked that movie. It was a secret. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing it, people wearing Goonie T-shirts on top of their life jackets going wakeboarding, where I'm like, when did this become cool?
This used to be a private thing. So, right? It's like, it's my secret.
Don't let them know I like G.I. Joe.
I'm the real American hero. So, but growing up, what were you? I love that show. I have another Chicago. I have another Chicago tat right here.
Oh my gosh!
I'm that fucking crazy about G.I. Joe. Yeah, man. I'm a ninja, baby.
And people are like, what is this show? It was a TV show in the 80s, folks.
No, but nowadays it's the reverse. What? You don't know G.I. Joe?
Oh, yeah. G.I. Joe. I was talking about Real American Hero, but...
You know what Real American Hero. But you know what I mean? It's like, nowadays it's cool. It's not cool to not know these things. Yeah. Right? That's how I feel. Like, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. That is cool. Even if like they know whatever, the smallest bit about Star Wars. Anyway, so you mentioned like geekdom and your love for Goonies. Growing up, what was it like as a comic lover growing up in San Francisco and getting into it, getting introduced to all these comics? What was your first comic? Let's start there.
That I can't even. I wouldn't even know. My basement or attic, depending on the house we lived in at the time, was always filled with boxes and boxes of comics.
Why? Who was it?
So my dad loved comics in the Philippines, and he grew up reading them like hardcore.
Like which ones at the time? If that was like
this is for my dad, 40s and 50s.
Yeah,
so
but what comics were here at the time?
Well, the ones he knew were the stuff done by Francisco Kuching.
I don't even know that thing.
Francisco Kuching is the first national artist for the Philippines who's a comic book artist.
What's his name again?
Francisco Kuching.
Francisco.
And a lot
in my head, it's Will Sportasio.
Yeah, of course.
In my head.
Lionel Yu, maybe.
No, but Will's came. Will's his
image.
Will's.
That's
Will's his image.
That's the first one for a lot of us. That's the first time you saw the Philippine flag in an X-Men comic.
Shirt, on a leather jacket to be more precise, with makulit. Of course, man, hardcore.
So my dad remembered the stuff in the Philippines.
See, I feel emasculated by not knowing this, because all this time I really thought it was fucking.
Well, no one knew about Philippine comics except people in the Philippines. But San Francisco had the very first comic book store in the United States. Before that, you bought comics at a drugstore or at the supermarket.
Yeah.
And San Francisco, all of a sudden, this one crazy guy, Gary Arlington, opened up this one place. I'm going to sell nothing but comics.
What's his name?
Gary Arlington. He's like this infamous figure in the comic book scene. He passed away a couple years ago. But
what was his comic book store's name?
Well, I'm like 95% sure. Well, it's not true. But I think he's the character, the clown in The Spawn, that looks and acts just like Gary Arlington. He was like this crazy, fat, dirty, old, stinky. But I think about Gary. I think about.
Was it his homage? Was that McFarlane's homage to him?
Probably not. I have no idea. But it's just like it's uncanny how much those two are known. But because it was the first comic book store, anybody and everybody involved with the comic scene who passed through San Francisco
would
visit. It was just a 23rd Street comic book store. That was it. I mean, it was just like...
How big was it? How big was the place? Like a record store back in the day?
So this little... Like from here to there is the size of that comic book store. So I don't know how to communicate that to the leaders.
That's around probably, to communicate to listeners, it's probably like 70 square meters.
Yeah, and it was just, probably more like 55. And then there's a tiny little walkway, and then floor to ceiling, rows, stacks of comics. And he would always, you'd walk in one day, and he would have issues going at least 6 issues back. And you could all pick them up at the same day if you hadn't been there for a while. This guy was not a normal thinking. But anyway,
he was, maybe you could look at it, he was forward thinking, that he kind of saw like a promise in these things. That's why he put up a shop.
He was just kind
Did he
of
sink it though, or was it doing good at the time? Was
he
it
kept
crazy?
it till he he had to go into like an older folks home and but he had probably one of the best comic book art collections. Had all crazy.
Standing in his shop store. I was like store. Which titles would call your attention? Like,
Well, one thing,
when you see
my
the black logo?
dad educated me on the stuff that he wanted me to see. So right from the get-go, my first comic book memories were probably Neil Adams' work, and on
Neil
the
Adams is like
Green
the
Arrow and
Batman
Green
is
Lantern,
amazing.
and then his Batmans. Actually, a couple of his Batmans were my very first memories,
Yep.
and then all the great work he did on the X-Men. All of the 70s era.
Which was
if you look at the top most expensive 70s era comics, my dad probably had like 10 of each one.
He would buy multiple copies already
Yeah,
at this early time.
Because
Because people didn't have that kind of thinking back in the day.
My
until we
dad
had
thought
that
about things
speculative-
differently,
Wow, that's very forward thinking.
But what also happened for my dad was some guys went through the comic book store and said, well, we're doing the World Encyclopedia of Comics. And then my dad is like, oh, that's cool, man. Far out, 60s and stuff. He said, who's doing the section on the Philippines? These some white guys, Jewish guys from the United States. What? Philippines has comics? My dad's like, give me 2 weeks, let me write stuff. And from memory, he wrote down his favorite heroes, his favorite, novel-like
who would
lines.
these heroes be? Where are they in the annals of like Philippine literature?
You can go to a national bookstore and you'll find some books on the history of Filipino comics. And so there was
Look into that.
a number
Look
of
into that.
different artists. But I mean, just off the top of my head, Alex
Harkening
Nino,
back
Francisco
to like the
Kuching.
50s? Was this like 50s, 60s?
That's the ones my dad wrote about. So he left like 54, 55, and then wrote about that years, a decade plus later.
Dang.
And out of that, he got to connect with artists here in the Philippines, and he helped a number of them get started working for DC, heavy metal.
Names, like which ones?
Francisco Kuching,
Kuching.
Alex Nino. I'm trying to think of the other ones. Nestor Redondo. These three stuck out in my mind because I got to see him a lot growing up. Alex Nino became my godfather.
What were they working
father.
on? What books were they working on?
Alfredo Alcala is famous for his work on Batman and Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing.
Alex Nino, he's probably most famous for his stuff on heavy metal. So it was really dark.
I've
out
heard about
there.
that guy. Yeah.
Nestor Redondo, I don't remember which comics he did, but all of them also they changed. During the 70s, what was really popular were DC's horror line.
Yeah.
So
Swamp Thing's
that kind of went into there, but this is pre-Vertigo. This is whatever their horror series, and the Filipino artists had such unique style. They were, that's where they used all the Filipino artists in the DC universe was the horror comics. And if any of you guys are, I can't believe I'm about Neil Gaiman. That guy talks about his love of comics. It all comes from the Filipino artists and the storylines in the horror comics
Really?
of the 70s. Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Neil Gaiman? No wonder he's always here. When was he was here like
Well,
every other year.
when he created an award for the best of creativity in the Philippines, he named it the Alex Nino Award. That's my godfather.
No way.
Yeah.
Cool.
And to throw this out at geeks and like people who, I think a common thing about being a geek is there's this real strong sense of I'm unique. And, it's like, how do I flesh out my vision? When my mom and dad came here in 1971, they got to meet with some of the folks who were still running. There's still a commercial comic book industry.
Yes.
So they, met some of the top folks and they showed them the artwork. And the one that stood out to my mom was Alex Nino.
I'm gonna
But
look into this Alex Nino
but
guy.
the top guy for this comic book company is that like, no, it's too weird and stuff. But it was that weirdness, that uniqueness that was weird for the industry here.
But unique.
When he went to the United States,
It was
people
like
were
cold
blown
there.
away, and that's
Yeah.
why these people usually do one comic book a month at most.
This guy does what?
Both Alex Nino and Alfredo Alcala, they were like sometimes averaging 6, 7 a month. Alfredo Alcala did 12 comics
See, I'm
in
a
1
pen.
month.
I draw, so it's always been my dream to be. And I've applied actually to Glass House, to Marvel, all these places.
Yeah.
And I know how difficult it is to come up with a freaking page, just the layouts and everything that you put on a page. That's easily a day. So if these guys can churn, that is like a gift. that is something really dang crazy. Jack Kirby crazy, you know?
You can get how mind-blowing that is, but so in the world there's this concept of flow where people are able to be 5 times more productive. They're just things just come out of them like nobody's business, and it's in the domain of mastery. And the Filipino comic book illustrators of that time period, these are masters. They would look at things, they drew realistically, and it's just they could produce. It's like they just saw the stuff visually in their heads and were able to translate it to the page.
The page.
That's
a different... Because being an artist and being a comic book artist are two distinctly different things. Because comic book art has a lot to do with cinematography, like taking shots, shot selection, much like choreography even, I'd put it.
I'll say though, our current batch of, I feel very happy for the professional artists like Lenil Yu, or Jerry, I'm sorry, I'm killing your last name, Alanginan.
Which one was he working on?
Jerry, he works with Lenil Yu a lot. They've done a bunch of.
He's inking for Lenil.
They've done stuff for DC and Marvel. A lot of different things.
The last good Lenil Yu book that I read was The Secret Wars. Imagine he handled Secret Wars for a freaking year. He was the flagship.
And these are Filipinos in the Philippines. They haven't had to leave. So it's like the pedigree of artwork coming out of our country.
Carlo Pagulayan is also amazing. I met him also at a couple of Comic Cons. Because every time I go to a Comic Con, I bring my portfolio. And every time I get my ass beaten by it every single freaking time. But I haven't stopped. I still do. We'll be doing printing on some frames. I'll show you later off cam what we do. Anyway,
I'm at home. I didn't even know we were gonna go this deep into comics.
Well, deep, man, deep cuts. Like if Mark were here, it would be like another. My God, we grew up on this shit. We grew up on the X-Men, the Jim Lee era. That's our era.
Yeah, I love Jim Lee's stuff.
Jim Lee's my God. I got him all over
Batman.
my room.
I love his Batman. I love his X-Men.
X-Men. His Psylocke blows me away. It always harkens back to my puberty years. That was the first time I felt my shorts. Especially X-Men 4. I even have it on my iTouch. It's like X-Men 4 with an image getting out of the Psylocke getting out of the pool. My God, that just blew me away. So that's our era. So that's why, right?
I'm just laughing because I'm seeing it in my mind. That was a hot image. It burned into the psyche.
It was, man. It was. It kind of burns into your brain. Wait, I think I got it here. I'm pretty sure.
I can see it in my head. I don't need to see it in real life.
I'm pretty sure you used this couple of many times. But come on, revisit this with me, man. You just gotta revisit this with me.
I'm gonna laugh if it's the exact image in my mind.
It is the exact image in your mind. I am telling you, man.
I can see the pencil work, the ink work, the coloring in my mind.
The color.
I'm wondering if the word bubbles in the same place as I'm seeing it in my mind. We'll see how good the memory is at this point.
Well,
bottom line, it's just there's a when people get into it, Filipinos, they're very good at, like you said, that cinematography.
Yeah. Boom!
Moving a
found it. Remember that scene? I remember that scene like it's like engraved at the back of my mind.
Sorry, I'm silent. I'm blowing up the image and stuff.
Those are like the first episodes. This is like
a sound technician came out to look at the image too.
Pat had to take a peek. Yeah, I remember that.
Hey, Pat.
Special thanks to Pat, by the way. Thanks for helping us today with everything we're doing here. Anyway, getting back on track. So so that's why it's a golden age. So let's steer it back a little bit to Star Wars, if we may. May we?
Sure.
May we?
Yeah.
So describe to us. Okay, how does that? How did you do that? How did that happen? Describe to us the road to Star Wars.
Okay. So growing up in San Francisco, Star Wars, it's just part of the. It lives in the woods. Everyone knows just north of us is Lucasfilm and the different things.
How far were you from Lucasfilm growing up?
Probably 2-hour drive from San Francisco.
That's like going to Batangas if you're coming from Manila.
It's like going from Marikina to Makati on the wrong day. Holy Week, 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
But so first off, I actually. On March 19th, 20th, Philtoon Cons in Pampanga. If you're up
Okay.
there or you want to go up there, check it
Yeah,
out. The producer,
March when? I'll text me.
and 9th Ray Gila is the guy who's producing the event.
Uh-huh.
He worked in production design for years for Industrial Light and Magic, and he
Okay.
worked on movies going back. But he worked on Empire Strikes Back, and also
As what? Sorry.
production design. It's
Production
actually building. I mean, think about Empire and then Return of the Jedi. All that
Uh-huh.
stuff had to be built.
Yeah.
So he was involved.
that
in
was
the
magical
building
about
process.
7. Seeing this
You
again.
know, like they actually built a life-size Jabba the Hutt flying palace.
with like 8 people manning Jabba or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, you know, he was part of all that particular magic, and if you're lucky, you can meet him. He'll be at that event behind the scenes. It's like, oh no, Elric's telling him I'm there. But yeah, there's someone also worked on the Star Wars films. But I knew people teaching Filipino martial arts. I taught on the UC Berkeley campus for a decade plus.
Nice. Teaching
Filipino martial arts.
specifically.
Yeah, and most of my students
No,
were
specific. When you
Phil-
say Filipino martial arts, that's mostly.
it was a mixture. Well,
Arnis. It's basically
yeah,
handwork.
Arnis, Eskrima. Though I also got
Japanese
into teaching.
based, basically, right? With the grabs and with the geese. Did you have?
I
you guys-
did that, but what my students were more interested in is stuff coming from the Philippines. So I also trained with Salat masters from the south. Like one of my main
Nice.
instructors was Yakan from Basilan.
Yeah.
So it's we got our own stuff, and people from around the world.
So it
love
wasn't always with Kali sticks. I would imagine because when you say Filipino martial art, the Filipino martial art, I would classify it as like a mixed martial art.
Absolutely.
If you take out the sticks, it's basically Aikido and Judo, a little bit of Judo, it's a tad bit of kickboxing because of our
we
Muay
kick
Thai
too.
loving, Muay Thai loving brethrens in Thailand. Well, anyway, and then so you were teaching.
So I had a friend of my students, and then I also had actually a couple students ended up working for Lucasfilm.
Nice. Okay.
And one of them ended up eventually becoming the assistant to Rick McCullum. He's the producer of
Rick McCallum, yeah.
when they remade episode 4,
Yeah.
5, and 6 and digitalized it. He was a producer for those.
Where is he nowadays? Is he part of the?
I don't know what Rick McCullum is up to.
Right.
these days.
Was he
It's
thrown
like-
under the Lucas bus? He's not.
No, I mean that guy had been working. He was the producer of the Young Indiana TV series.
Yeah, I remember.
You know, and that was
Yep.
like the first TV show that shot on locations all around the
The
world.
world, yeah.
And because of that amazing experience, George just trusted him. And then for the prequels, he was a producer for all of
For
those.
all of them, yeah.
You know,
No, but you said
and
even
I
the
actually
remastered
ended
ones.
Up, I actually ended up. I was like an underground runner. Hey, this star needs this item. Go find it for them. This star needs that item. You know. So when I actually
How did you become the runner? Hey you doing anything? How does that happen? Or you're sneaking in with your students like, oh, did you need something done?
So my friend is my ex.
Ah,
and at that
yes,
level, and it's like, hey, this person
okay.
needs it. So it's like I was available
Yeah,
to take
yeah,
care of
yeah.
things that need to be taken care of.
Uh-huh.
And it also allowed me, you know, a lot of. And it's like it was natural for me to go to Skywalker Ranch because that's where my ex worked.
Uh-huh.
And you know, hang out there, and then hey, there's George. Hi, George. You know.
And he would call you out, or
No,
maybe
he would just look at you. The eyes would smile. Sometimes the face would smile. He would just nod. Always polite, always quiet. but
would he
he's
give a little wave or just like a?
I think I got
a
away
nod
once
a
or
nod of
twice.
punishment?
In the fanboy in me, the heart melted a
Yeah,
little.
that's why I asked.
He waved to
Because I'm imagining it. He
you
must be a good day of creativity for him.
Yeah.
And then, so you started. What was the funniest thing you had to do being that runner?
Doing some research
I'm listening, I'm just
for
kidding.
one star's hair product needs. And I'm not going to say their name, but basically, you know, calling places like New York and Los Angeles, you know, all these high-end places trying to find this hair product that this one star loved. And then, you know, then got creative. And it turned out it'd be the equivalent of...
It's not Natalie Portman, okay, right?
No, it was just
Okay.
a hair product, right?
Okay.
But this hair product was actually only available at the equivalent of, say, a Mercury Drugs. And all this time, I'm thinking in my mind, like, you know, what stores in, say, Rockwell or Gloria, Greenbelt 5 would carry this item. It's like, no, it wasn't a high-end item. They wanted a product for Mercury Drug, and that was the hair product they loved, and they they made their hairstylists
Well,
use
that's
it and stuff.
they're inner rock stars that they just need to get that rose on their bedside or whatever.
Well, it's like
contracting.
they are, and I was lucky enough to have like sat in some of the casting stuff, and then also I've been on set.
Tell me
for
a little bit. Tell us about that. Like, how cool was it? Like casting stuff. Describe what that looks like.
So, it's basically. Sometimes I'd watch people from the casting department, and it was like, they're sitting in a room, and people are they're reading their scripts, and then they might.
So you
say
got to see
things
Natalie Portman and all in her cast, or was she already cast? Does she do the reads, or someone else does
By
the
the
read?
time I was actually able to see things, it was kind of like sure that it was going to be Natalie Portman and Christian Hayden.
Yeah, because you were in episode 2
Episode
at
2.
the time. So when the readings happened, were they there?
I was around for episode 1 and not so much for 3, because I was running errands for different things and helping out with stuff. But
Did you get to meet Natalie Portman? Of course,
I
you
did.
A
I
picture? Did you ever have a picture?
No.
You didn't want to disturb her.
Well, it's very like I
Professional.
watched one person. It's like I knew that they were going to get arrested, and they got arrested for leaking stuff. They took security serious, So the fact that I have one picture from the filming at ILM, it's like those don't exist because the security was so
tight. No, but wouldn't you sign NDAs or some shit like that? That it's not gonna come from me. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's why the person
but on
who
top
did
of
it
that,
was
they still don't trust you to take pictures.
No, that's how they enforce it. It's one thing. So it's like because once it's leaked, it damages the hype or whatever. It might damage the hype.
Episode 1 was damaged by that. I read the script to episode 1 before episode 1 was released because it was leaked online. Remember, these were the times when they would slip up.
Now I'm wondering if that's the one where the guy was arrested because of that particular leak. I don't remember.
I think so because it was
sad for people because this is a nice person.
I knew Qui-Gon was gonna die even before I read it in the soundtrack.
That would have. Well, I wouldn't have read it. I hate spoilers.
Really?
Yeah. And
I have a low EQ sometimes. If it's just there, it's like a cookie in the table. I'm like, I'll be the one, but get electrocuted because of. Anyway, so how did you get on set? How did you get the role? How did that happen?
My friend Ardis Rabang, she was in a meeting that George Lucas was talking with some of the production people and said, we need. There's none of Jedis in this scene, and I want female Jedis, and what are some ideas? And, Ardis brought up, hey, Elrik has female students. I had actually auditioned for episode 1. I didn't get the part, obviously, but it's like I was known.
But there weren't really Jedis in episode 1.
It was just, if I got it, I would have been Darth Maul, but I think
Oh, really?
I wouldn't have done a dual lightsaber.
On an Earth 2, Darth Maul would have been you, right? On an Earth 2.
If I was good enough, I'm not saying. Ray Park was friggin' amazing. I couldn't do all those jumps and flips that he did and brought to the show.
Yeah, the guy's a ballet dancer, right?
He was a wushu champion. I think he was the #1 champion for the UK at one point.
At one point, yeah, but he took ballet. That's one thing about Darth Maul. He took ballet. That's why he gets those spins, man. Those spins, you mix it with I don't know. He probably took up a little bit of kung fu as well, because those are amazing Chinese choreography right there. So how did you get in episode 2? So let me just say that again, just in case people didn't hear. On an alternate universe, on an Earth 2 out there, right? Elrik would have been fucking Darth Maul. Just putting that out there. Anyway, go. So episode 2 happens.
So episode 2 happens. There's that conversation, and so they actually did an open call casting for the Lucas company. So at the time, that's Skywalker Sound, Industrial Light and Magic, LucasArts, the video game company. I forget the other companies. Jack Films, which is the real company that does the Star Wars movies before it goes to Lucasfilm for distribution.
What's the name of this?
Jack Films.
Jack Film, really?
Yeah. And I think it stands for Jack, Amanda.
Or maybe distribution in the States, you mean? Because right here it's Fox who distributes. Because in the States I understand
there's a convoluted line of why they do it and why it makes sense for business tax purposes and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, all these people auditioned to be filmed.
How many people?
I don't know.
50.
I remember it was a sound stage, and those sound stages are like basketball court or bigger. It was this one I think we did it at Industrial Light and Magic also. Yeah. So
in a basketball court it was full.
Yeah, more than it was pretty full. I mean, not shoulder to shoulder, but it was like
Not even like
if
half
everyone
full is a
had
lot of
banig, they would be touching kind of full.
Oh man.
So but yeah, all those people auditioned, and a lot of them had martial arts background. So it's like me and my students. I also had a friend, another instructor of martial arts, female. She also she auditioned, and so we were all able to actually film at Industrial Light and Magic.
In auditioning, were you wearing your Jedi robes?
No. They basically gave us something like do 4 8-beat counts of choreography where you're fighting against laser blast.
Okay.
Maybe 2 for laser blast, 1 for actually cutting down enemies, and then the last 8 will include some kind of dying.
And all your counted system was kicking in.
And then it's just like come up with something. And for what I created for myself, I specifically did movements from particular styles of Filipino martial arts. So everything I put in there came from translating Filipino martial art moves into working with a lightsaber.
A lightsaber, yep.
It was longer than.
Did you do high kicks and shit? I would have done like high kicks.
No
spin twist kicks.
At that time, it's like if you're into like the bladed weapon martial arts of the Philippines, you're like, don't kick, I cut your foot. Right? So it's like you don't kick because
that's true. No, but it can be incorporated. Darth Maul does some kicks.
You can.
Darth Maul does a lot of kicks.
And it's like if you're good, you can actually incorporate and use it as a surprise.
Attack, like somewhere from the spin.
Yeah.
Because I've done choreo too, so that's why I know that's like, so you could put it like, anyway, so what was it like getting that call that, hello? Is this, was it, sorry, I'm doing my George Lucas, hello? Like, what's it, who called and said, hey, you got the part, boy.
They called a friend audition. She let me know. It's like, we're in.
So, hallelujah. God paused this moment in time. And then it was
like calling the students like, okay, guys, A game. Let's work on our stuff.
How long were you given? Like, for example, if we're shooting tomorrow, a week, 2 weeks?
I think the first audition was 2 months before actually shooting.
Okay, first audition, and then
so
you would come in for like test shots already by this time, or just fixing your choreo?
That was actually really simple. Audition, 1 rehearsal, and then shoot.
Audition, one rehearsal. Well, yeah, you guys would have been. How long was that? For like 3 weeks.
I'd be making it up, but something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, and then the day of. So if you think about maybe doing 45 seconds of choreography.
Where were you shooting this, by the way?
San Rafael, California, at Industrial Light and Magic.
So you drove yourself there every day.
And it was all green screen shooting.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So at that time, George.
So those who don't know, he's the one in the scene in Geonosis, right? In episode 2 before Django Fett gets his head cut off. Spoilers! Anyway. To those of you who don't even know, come on. What the fuck are you doing listening to this show?
Yeah.
Anyway, so there.
But if you are there, thank you for joining.
And please watch the movies because you will not understand. So how was that like? If I remember, were you battling like the giant aliens also?
No, we were just creatures? We were just fighting the 2 kinds of droids. I guess I don't know what they're called, but the regular droids where C-3PO got his head exchanged with one, and then the bigger silver ones that kind of look like a variation of Iron Man walking at you. Not the rolling kinds.
No.
I didn't film for that, but if you look at the screen, you're going to see all of these Jedi fighting in the background, upper right, bottom left. I came out. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'm twice in the same shot.
Really?
Because I
didn't notice that.
I shot 4 different characters.
Because I did my homework. I looked for you. I'm like, I didn't notice that you were like the other one in the screen where you're in the top right. I remember.
Well, I did a Padawan with double lightsaber, and then I did a Jedi Knight and 2 Jedi Knights or Jedi.
Also,
Jedi Masters.
Even you had to change different styles a little bit.
Yeah, I got my hair cut. It was like, okay, I had hair and then like a mullet and then calbo and then a character, and then I also did a character. I was a Nikto. So it's this desert species who was a Jedi Master.
Which scene was that? Were you
Same
fully
scene.
made up? Ah, okay.
Yeah. Actually, because
So
of
you
the
played 4
distance-
Jedis.
Yeah, 4 Jedis.
So it's not just one Jedi. You are the Jedi.
3 Jedis and a Padawan.
Well, yeah, Force users, lightsaber.
Yes.
You had. I don't care if I'm like with Ahsoka Tano and whatever, voicing. At that time,
Yeah.
just to be in. To hold a freaking lightsaber.
Yeah. It's like, what was the best part of it? First, holding the lightsabers that they actually use for filming in the movies at that time.
Describe that to us real quick. Was it plastic? Was it?
Well, what it? Yeah.
Did it feel
it's
like
not
a prop?
material. Well, it is because the movie quality lightsabers that people
Back
love
then,
love today.
Today are not. We'll get into that
those-
later. Yeah.
They don't use that for action scenes because some of them will cut your hand open. I mean, doing demos with the Philippine Lightsaber Guild, it was like I had 2 demos where I didn't build up the conditioning on my hands for the kind of cuts you would get for certain lightsabers. So the ones they used in the movies, they're actually cast in resin. The big
cast.
details were sanded down, and they painted it to look like that.
And it was like
safer
off a.
for the hand.
It was a PVC pipe,
No, it
right?
was,
Wasn't it?
It was actually
It
a
looked like
high-grade aluminum tube, like what you would use in an arrow for archery.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Also,
then, and then
so it was light.
And then
It was
had,
very light.
Yeah, it was very light, and a plastic synthetic sheath to actually support the aluminum, and that's what
Inside.
outside. So it have a blue sheath or a red sheath.
Okay, okay. It's like a layer of film,
Yeah,
kind of.
exactly like a layer. It was a condom. Can I say that? On this call?
Of course, you can even curse. It's free TV.
Cool.
Yeah. So how was? Dang. So it was just resin cat. I can do that. I'm just kidding. Because right now, what?
There's YouTube videos for.
Everywhere. It's everywhere. If you want to learn about, before we get into lightsabers then and now, I recently saw like production photos of episode 7.
Okay.
Where actually they would change. There were some shots. Kylo Ren looked like he was using like a string blade, so the light would really catch on his face. And I saw some shots with Finn holding a blue bulb to his face. So it depends on the. JJ was like changing it from. It depends on the mood of the shot, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But for the fighting, they were really using the string blades. But at the same time, they would still change it in post. But just to get the lighting right, because a lot of people complained that in the first 3 with the green screen, those things, such like little
little
details.
nuances,
Nuances did it.
So
didn't
string
take.
blade. I don't know if it was a string. So for those who don't know, it's string refers to the LEDs, the lighting source, and then they also got the dual ready lightsabers with the light at the bottom. It's basically a flashlight.
For once and for all, from the Jedi Master himself, please clarify to the thousands who've made it into a joke and memes what being dual ready is, and if it's dual or dual, it's just funny when I read all these things on Philippine Lightsaber. For those who are not following Philippine Lightsaber Guild, please give them a like. It's an amazing group. Without that group, I would not have met Elrik and all these cool people that I get to chat with. And we'll get into Saber Triad later. The 3 fools I'm making lightsabers with. So what is it? Dual. Please, Elrik, take it away. Explain to the public.
So since maybe it's a decade now, but people have been making movie quality lightsaber replicas, and the handle looks just like the.
Who was the
close-up
first? Would you remember?
I don't know. Though I think going back, oh my gosh,
I think Nino would be the
98 is when
first.
I had my first movie quality prop.
Which was a master replica at that time?
I don't know. Yeah.
What
this
was
is going to kill people. I actually gave it away to a friend of mine because I
It
felt
killed
like
me when you told me the first time. Like,
it's because it's like his passion for Star Wars was stronger than mine.
What
at the
was
time.
it? What was it? What was the?
It was
movie
the Luke Skywalker one.
Which one? The Graflex or the? Oh my God!
I
I'm
don't
getting
know.
into it.
See, you geek out. You're geeking out
Yeah,
more on
yeah,
that than
yeah.
me. I mean, I got my own. All of us geeks have our own specialties. Yes.
So was it the Return of the Jedi one? Was it
I
green or
don't
blue?
remember. It was a blue. It was a blue
Okay,
lightsaber.
so it was a Graflex.
Yeah.
Dang.
And
Dual ready.
but I would never in a million years ever try sparring with it. I mean, yes, it made sounds. It made the clashing sound, but I never hit it against anything harder than a pillow or my hand. Dual ready lightsabers. They use the polycarbonate blades. And by the way, so I have tested out Pale's blades. Okay, I put it through the same type of testing I've done for the Ultra Saber and Saber Forge blades for their their highest quality. You were bending it
at your knee at one time.
Bending it for me, the bending of the knee. That's like okay, they should all be able to do that fine. That's not a big test for me. It was impact testing, and it was just as strong. Though I will say this, all of them, if you hit the tip on the ground on cement,
it will break.
Cement, it's going to break your tip. That's universal. But yeah, good blades. So dual ready means that you would be willing to go as hard as you can hit against another person who's hitting as hard as they can hit, and they're not going to break.
And not damage the lights and whatnot. It's still got that.
Yeah, nothing's going to break inside your lightsaber. Yeah. And unless it's been designed for that, it will. So we don't want people feeling bad about breaking their, something they put a lot of energy into getting. And
a lot of money. Money. Those things do not, they do not cost cheap. Even because especially us at the Triad, we're trying to get the T6 aluminum, everything down. Those are not, they use like airplane grade aluminum, T606. I was at a meeting yesterday, I saw that. So it's really, it's light. At the same time, it's the toughest metal out there that you could really hit up against each other. So for the record, guys, it's duel, D-U-E-L, not dual. It's funny. It makes my day when people start noob here and everyone in the group starts messing. But at least they don't get turned out. They're humored by you got your police mark on the site, policing some stuff. Like, hey, let's all be nice. And it's generally like a nice site. I love PLG. Is like one of my favorite groups right now is on Facebook because it's like all geeks every time, all day, every day. So, okay, going back to episode 2. So you said, I thought you were just in 2. You were also in 3?
No, only 2.
Only 2, okay. Yeah. So after you've done that, you've taken your shots, were you there for the rest of the shooting or were you just there for your part? Because your part is by the end.
So you're by the end. Actually went on vacation in Australia. And
what do you mean?
In 2000. And so
after the showing, you mean?
No, this is during the actual filming of episode 2.
Okay.
And
you shot
because of my ex, we got to go to Fox Studio, Sydney, Australia.
That's where you shot?
No, that's not our shot. But that's where they did the filming. So I was actually got to be on set for a lot of different things. That's actually
name the best 2 that you were the set name and describe the sets aside from the green screen that really blew you.
Actually, most of the stuff it was just giant green screen thing. Which the only set that I actually stands out and you're like it's clear it's the set was the office that Palpatine used.
Because it was just what's this?
Well, they actually had there was the floor,
mirrors,
the
roof,
and then
but it was just carpet.
Walls.
I remember it was carpet.
Was a lot of detail to that. Yeah. And then going out to the windows were green screen because of course Coruscant in the background that's going to be digitized. Yeah. But I got to be there in the filming when a number of senators went into his office, so I got to see what's his name, Organa. Senator Organa walking in there. Yeah. Also, Samuel Jackson was in the shot.
Did you get to talk to any of the
only ones I actually talked to of the main characters? Yeah. They get to meet Ray Park, and he was super cool, mellow. He was like a kid in a candy store.
I want to bring him here because that was one of the Comic Cons. I want to bring him here. That's my target.
You could tell he was a geeking out that he was going to be able to be doing this. But also met Christian Hayden, very sweet, nice person, and who's totally sweet and nice? Natalie Portman.
I bet. Yeah, she has that.
She saw me because of connection of actually doing some errands and stuff. Gave me a big hug, and actually I forgot about it. I went kind of starstruck. I couldn't remember. So someone said, "Remember?" And I was like,
"Who said your friends? Your friends are?"
Yeah, she was like, She gave you a hug, stupid." I'm like, "What?"
Or would it be? You can come up to her and say, "Hey, we were."
I don't know if I'd ever do that because it depends on the setting. A star surrounded by all their fans and stuff.
Yeah.
But else I didn't want to go. I'm like, when I saw Samuel Jackson, totally in character. You didn't want to disturb, him. And then the other one, I was there for a good amount of filming. Because they might shoot like 30 seconds, but then they're going to spend sometimes up to a half hour between the next shot because they're moving cameras around. They got all these people writing down the camera angles, the lighting amount,
assistant
to make sure there's the right continuity of it. I mean, I met the people, all they did for each shot, they're the continuity accountability person, and they had this huge list, sheets of
numbers,
all the information,
measurements, and taping it up on the green screen.
Yeah, but I was gonna say Ewan McGregor was cool to see.
Cool, really.
Yeah, never left character, and then
when you say
he smoked a cigar between takes. I don't know, maybe he was channeling his inner Winston Churchill or something. But it's kind of like
when you say in character the whole time, even you don't see them take off their character mask until they get to their trailers. There's like even like.
Well, I mean, that would probably like who knows? It would have been 8 hours of shooting. That's kind of boring to watch. So I was only there, hanging out for a half an hour. Like, no, I want to be here an hour for this shot. You know, unless you're actually working on a set on a movie, then it's like. You find other ways to entertain yourself.
That's true. That's true. You get that long shoots on long days like that. Yeah. So anyway, moving forward. What's the post Star Wars Episode 2 world like?
You know, it really is like
you get special privileges
I never.
Oh, before that, sorry, I had to ask. Green screen. You guys were with clone troopers. In some of those scenes. No,
there was actually no clone troopers in the scenes that we shot. All the group
because they arrive, right? It's like Geonosis. It's you fighting the aliens.
Who filmed that? What do you call it? At Industrial Light and Magic, part of our choreography, we were all supposed to die, and you see us dying. So they didn't use it in the actual. Maybe a couple of people actually died on screen, but most you don't see hardly any.
Probably like 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's like not a lot of Jedi
die. Yeah, because and then Yoda.
But they're missing later on. Because it's like it went down from like maybe 300 to like 20 people left. Jedi's left.
Was it? It didn't feel like that in the movie. Well, right? Yeah, in the movie, Yoda sweeps in with all the troopers.
Yeah, but they were surrounded. I mean, that's
but
a
they were
geek
all
thing.
fake.
There's a lot of people who are saying like, no, there were ones elsewhere lying down, but that's for the geeks to debate about. Yeah, it's funny.
So no troopers, right? Because all the
troopers were.
To those who don't know, all the troopers in episode 1, 2, 3, except for the ones with the Jango Fett actor really wearing the suit, there were no clone troopers that were real, right? They were all CGI'd in. That's why I asked, because I remember that you guys stood with stormtroopers. I didn't know that some of you
shots
died.
These days with in troopers or anything, that's all local cosplay events.
Yeah, exactly. But now in episode 7, except for that one shot with the Starkiller base charging up, where there's like millions of them, most of these stormtroopers are real. That's where the 501st comes into awesomeness, right? Because they pulled in like people from the 501st, like real stormtroopers are like hitting walls, opposed to like the mechanical clone troopers dying on screen and whatnot. Yeah. Well, anyway, going back to my other question. So I had to know because just to confirm that there were no clone troopers in armor. You did not. It was never produced.
There was only Jedi's shooting that day. Yeah.
Anyway, so what's the post Star Wars world like? Do you get invite to whatever? How does that happen?
It's a brand new.
How did that change your life?
It really didn't. I mean, there's like one of the other communities I'm close and tight with folks is Filipino martial arts community, and so it was nice at that time. It's like, hey, this is how we got Filipino arts showing up in Star Wars, and just a thumbs up, high five for that, but. I really didn't do anything in the geek scene at that point in my life.
Wouldn't you do like special appearances and cons? Like, hey, it's the Jedi.
None of that. It was not at all. And sometimes it's cool because I have friends who also like hardcore cosplayers in the United States.
Yeah, they would get tips from you, I'm sure. It's like, does this look right?
Yeah, it's like,
is it 2 inches short from my navel? Should I put the belt a bit higher? That kind of level of detail.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I put up after May 4th last year. May the 4th be with you.
Star
put
Wars
up the picture that I had on set, and then someone in my Filipino martial arts community said, "Hey, can I share this with the Star Wars community?" I'm like, "Cool, go ahead."
No, they won't be holding you. Like,
I'm a big Star Trek fan. I was a Star Trek fan before Star
Really?
Wars. So I've been connected to the Star Trek community, some folks in it over here in the Philippines, but I wasn't connected to the Star Wars community. And then, reached out, talked to folks, and people were cool. I'm like, yeah, let's support the, having fun with their fantasy and stuff. Because I'd already been going to Comic Cons.
yeah.
Been to one or two
did
toy
you
cons.
dress up?
No.
You were just there as
No.
like to get
Yeah, I'm just
autographs
there as
and
a
buy
fellow
comics.
fan.
Yeah.
And then, some people know me, and then they might tell someone, and they're like, "Oh shit, can I get a picture with you?" And stuff. I'm like, "Sure."
So how?
But
you're,
no one really knows. I'm like,
because I didn't even know that you had you played four different
Yeah.
people in the film itself. Nice. So, okay, describe to us how you got connected. Let's talk about the PLG for a while because I really want to give a special shout out to the guys in the group. So how did you get connected to? Because I think all of you guys who were there's this other Filipinos also in Star Wars. Remember, or was it just you?
Actually, I wouldn't know, but I can tell you this: a good number of people of Philippine descent worked on the movies in different ways. Industrial Light and Magic.
Like what other movies?
Skywalker Sound.
What other movies of Skywalker or Lucasfilm had intense action scenes that would use martial arts aside from Star Wars and Indiana Jones? I'm guessing, but in these, it's more like the stunts than the
Lucasfilm
martial
really
arts.
didn't do much else other than those movies. Howard the Duck, Willow.
Yeah.
Willow had a lot of swashbuckling swordplay in it, but
I
Willow
haven't
was the
watched those.
fantasy one with Val Kilmer back in the '80s. Swashbuckling, dragons, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Industrial Light and Magic, they've done special effects for. Before CGI, they pretty much everybody went to them for the good special effects.
Yeah, that's true. Not necessarily just their movies. Everyone else kind of hooked up with them because it would say Skywalker Sound or shot
Well,
in.
they were cutting edge for
Yeah.
sound quality, and then
They
also,
still are, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think they're still they are literally that cutting edge. So describe to us PLG and your involvement with PLG.
So I was asked if they could do an interview for me for the Philippine Garrison. This is the 501st.
You're also
And
a member of the 501st.
I'm an honorary member of the
Honorary
501st.
member. Uh-huh.
And I already I've known about the 501st in the United States,
I
and
bet, yeah.
and about the good work they do, going to hospitals and sharing the fandom joy with people who wouldn't normally have any access to it, and whose hearts light up by seeing it. Children in the critical ward, and giving them an opportunity to smile when they see Darth Vader
Yeah.
or a stormtrooper.
Isn't that ironic? People smile when they see the most terrifying scene of our childhood, but it kind of brings that positive.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, they
it's-
look. It's like, oh, that kid don't like Darth Vader. Leave.
Some kids
Stormtroopers lang. Stormtroopers
it's the
lang.
white smiling ones. Put the white smiling ones in there.
Yeah, but it was that mixture of positive geek, geek community, and also wanting to give back. That said, hey, these are some folks. Let's continue to contribute. And part of my thing is because I have this passion for teaching movement, and then empowering people. I'm like, hey, here's how can we empower more geeks here in the Philippines and more creatives.
Do you have are you putting up a school or do you have a school where you teach presently that you'd like to invite our listeners to check out or whatnot?
So this is going to be funny because I'm going, what was the name of the gym again? But I'm actually teaching out of a gym in Pasig, not too far from, it's C5, kind of like when you're leaving C5 to go toward the Palenque. It's near that area, but it's a former...
Dumlos Gym, was it? No.
I can't remember the name of it right now.
Uh-huh.
I think maybe Grindhouse.
Grindhouse.
That sounds like it. But I teach body awareness techniques so that,
Nice.
like for someone like myself who's torn the cartilage in both my knees,
Ouch. ACL,
I've
MCL?
used
Both?
training to actually
rehabilitate it,
rehabilitate myself. So I didn't actually need the surgery that, Katimet said, nah, you're ready. We should do some surgery on there. But I decided to use other means. It's like maintaining. So helping the
Did it
older
work?
athlete.
Did it work?
Yeah, it works.
Did it
But
work?
if I don't do my exercises, then the pains can't come back.
Yeah, because I remember I had a bad sprain. I'll never forget this story. And I went to the clinic for it. I'm like, how long will this heal? And because I'm not walking straight, sprained it from ball. And then he's like, you want a cigarette?
No. Oh, okay, maybe.
Anyway, and then I broke my
These are not the death sticks you're looking for.
these are not statistics. I will go home and rethink my life. See, told you I know my shit. Anyway, and then the doctor goes, 2 to 3 months, you'll be unable to play basketball, and you have to take all these medication. I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I contacted our local masajista, and she's like, I'll have you walking in 3 days. And I shit you not, I was walking decently in 3 days, playing basketball the week after. So going back to your strength training and shit, sometimes like the hospital is not necessarily the best thing for your injuries. I think, I believe as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of biased. I mean, in my family, we started seeing an acupuncturist by the time I was 11. So I grew up around alternative medicine.
Yeah.
Both my grandmothers were helots. I trained.
See, they're magic, man. As in, kaya nila magtanggal ng ubo by just.
Some of them really know the human body, and
your fever can be like massaged away.
It can, but it's like you get the sense of like, a helot is like, this feels a little quacky, and they don't know what they're doing, and then their helots and people who know this stuff is like, you're not going to get that benefit except from them.
Yeah, that's true.
And
that's true. I believe that.
But it's
I
like
believe that.
the same thing with doctors. I mean, I've gotten 3 different opinions for different things, and each doctor gives me a different opinion. So which one do you take there?
Exactly.
But I think ultimately, go to your health professionals if you need it.
Mm-hmm.
Use your common sense and do what you and your family think you should do. In America, I'd say do what you think what you should do, but in Philippines, we operate within the family context.
I like how you put that like that. That's true. We need to get their sound off, or like their blessing, so to speak.
Well, especially if you have like, nah, Dad, you don't get to die. You get surgery or whatever, right?
Yeah, have you seen Creed?
Not yet.
Oh my God, watch Creed, please.
I heard it was good.
Yeah, if you don't cry, you were never a Rocky fan. Okay. I'll just say that much.
Dun, 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 dun.
He does these homages to whatever. Anyway, in closing, brother, what advice and lessons to kids about fandom and pursuing their dreams could you give our dear listeners, to the boys and girls out there?
Okay.
Like pursuing fandom, geekdom,
I grew
identity.
up in an identity context where I was told, Filipino ako. And for my dad, there's a generation of Philams. Pili meant to choose. That's what they took it to mean. And Pino meant the finest. Mm-hmm. So being Filipino meant...
Well, again, I like that.
I'm going to Filipino.
Choose.
And it's like I'm choosing that finest aspect of myself. Mm-hmm. My dad's generation, those who went to college, a lot of them were like half Filipino, half all these different things. Mm-hmm. Because there's that generation of Filipinos who went there, there was no Filipinas. So they're all half. But yet they came together and like, we want
half how? Both
half Chinese, half black, half Mexican, whatever.
But you're pure like 100% Pinoy.
I'm halo, but I got Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao in me. On both sides.
Bo.
So my ancestors traveled a lot. So choosing that finest aspect of yourself. And so choosing that best part of yourself that's Filipino, or that best part of you that grew up in the barrio. I've seen kids when I visited them, it's like showing me their entire PlayStation setup. But these are poor kids, so their PlayStation or Nintendo setup is all made out of paper, and they used whatever tape and glue to put together. They drew it out of, crayons. And it's like, that kid that I saw that was a son of a martial arts master, now he's actually working in, illustration for the gaming industry now. So it's like, you can take your passion and turn it into something. Quick, I'll talk about this. I'll leave it with a story about this guy, Roel Robles. I know him from the martial arts. He was like my rival in Filipino martial arts. He worked in hotel and restaurant management. His name? Yeah. Roel Robles. And he was working in the hotel restaurant industry, but he wanted to follow his dreams. He read comics. We shared a little bit geekiness. He took a job working in the mailroom at like almost minimum wage for the Lucas companies at Skywalker Ranch. Work in the mailroom, delivering people's messages, taking care of a wife and 2 kids in the States, doing that. Every Christmas, Lucasfilms had a Christmas party, and they had an art showing, and he put his art in the art show for 2 years. On the 3rd year, getting ready for episode 2, I think it's Daniel Chang, I might be getting the name right, but he was in charge of one of the art departments, came to Roel and said, would you like to work in the art department? And so
how many years into it?
So 2 years. So this is like his third year. Gets invited into the art department. One of the things that Roel did during the pre-concept design era, period of episode 2, he brought in his collection of Filipino weapons. Different bolos, weapons from the south, from Mindanao, from... anyway, there's a weapon called the barong.
What's it? The
Chris, the wavy blade. The Tausug tribe, known as warriors from Holo, they have a blade called the barong, curved blade, and they also have these beautiful curved handles. George Lucas saw that blade and said, I want a lightsaber design for that. They did different designs, and that design got retranslated, and that's the Count Dooku lightsaber. But the original inspiration for the Count Dooku lightsaber
it was a bolo.
It's called the barong. It's just a weapon, not like a bolo for all the wonderful uses. But 2 points from that. One, if you follow your dreams, you believe in yourself, the universe also makes a way to meet you there. You know, Roel was not the best artist, in my opinion, because I grew up around great Filipino artists. But his heart was there, and he kept improving. And, you know, he was like a head concept artist design for a movie. I think it was that Christmas Story one with animated with... Anyway, he's continued to work in the industry. And that's where he got to start.
He's probably
not Pixar. But anyway, follow your heart. But then also, what Roel showed us, hey, there's something from our culture that contributes to the rest of the world. So be proud of yourself. Be proud of our culture.
So keep that. What the spin? I mean, like brightness, was it?
So really, choosing the finest. So that finest aspect of yourself.
Yeah.
And keep looking for it. And when you find it, give yourself opportunities to express it, either as a geek or a geek creative, making comics, whatever, podcast.
I'm being inspired. That's why I'm all quiet. I'm like nodding my head. Well, that wraps up this. Well, you heard it from the master himself. All right. Follow your dreams. Anything you're passionate about, just do your thing. Don't save for the swim back. I don't know, right? something like that. So, well, that wraps up our Phantom Menace, our episode 1 of Tambay TV on the Taglish Network. Make sure to subscribe to this channel for all your Greek cravings. All your geek cravings and itchy funny bones. It has been amazing. And here I am, Pael Fajardo, signing off and thanking Sir Elrik Jundis again. Where can people find you on the nets, on the internets?
Actually, Elrik Jundis, it's on there. So I don't.
Do you have a Twitter handle?
I don't. You know, but really, if you want to follow stuff in the geekdom scene, go to PLG, Philippine Lightsaber Guild.
Yes.
And there's PLG. A lot of great stuff happening in the geek scene these days. Cafes,
a lot.
You know,
invite them to one of the meetups. Like what we
follow
do
the
monthly.
page and we'll share it up. Also, different groups in the Star Wars. We're going to be at NextCon coming up.
When's NextCon?
I think the first weekend in April.
First weekend in April.
3rd and 4th, something like that.
Where's that?
That's going to be at the convention thing inside of SM
wait, this is the one with Starkiller, right?
I think so.
He's coming to the Philippines.
I think part of the 501st is also going to be at Phil Tunes up in Pampanga. ToyCon. You'll see a lot of us at all those things.
All right. Well, you heard it. Well, that wraps it up, man. We've already outstayed our welcome. Well, thanks, guys, for hanging out with us. Make sure to check out my page at DeviantArt, superpael.deviantart.com, and also give the Saber Triad, me and the boys alike. We'll be updating you with our Saber escapades, whatever and however that goes. Wish us luck. Anyway, signing off. Bye-bye, guys. Check you later.
Paalam.
It's a wrap, but stronger close. Okay na yun. Good close? Good. All right. Thank you, senor. That was fun, right?